lost mine in the sand. Where will you stand?
And as always, live. Well, not always, but this time live from Modain. Hanok Kyung. Good morning. Good afternoon, man. How you doing?
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Doing about as well as can be expected.
Mm.
It's interesting. I actually think I've got a real advantage over most people analyzing the news
Okay.
from it because I'm not a linear thinker. I'm thinking all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even for me, I've narrowed down possibly like 8 or 9 different scenarios of what could be happening right now. It is absolutely insane, and every rumor is I okay, we all know it's not a good practice to be on your screens, either your MacBook or your phone, right before going to bed.
True.
But of course I do that, and then of course I don't sleep. But the the trends of the news, by the time I go to sleep and by the time I finally say, you know what, this isn't working out, 6 hours later, I'm up roaming the apartment, it's totally different.
Yeah.
I could tell you a few trends that appear to me, and then I have something really important that I'd like to share.
Okay.
It does appear that President Trump is losing patience with Netanyahu.
Well, I guess
Okay,
that me and Trump have something in common now.
okay. And sadly, I have to join that bunch too.
Yeah.
There's a rumor that the American government is thinking of inviting Naftali Bennett to the United States. Not confirmed.
Oh.
Naftali Bennett, assuming his new political party runs in the next election in 2026, would be the leading opposition against Netanyahu.
Hmm.
That's intriguing. But everything else, including that, actually, there's something that seems certain, and then there's something that's not. Perfect example. A week ago or so, there's Trump meeting the head jihadi of Syria, who America had a $10 million bounty on because of his being a leader of Al Qaeda and ISIS
Hmm.
until December. So a lot has changed from December, obviously, until May. Well, guess what? Marco Rubio, America's Secretary of State, said very clearly that Syria appears to be headed for a major civil
Yeah.
war, as opposed to what they had, a major civil war with the country breaking up. So everything is about as clear as mud. And I have to tell you, as I'm putting together my presentation, because heck, I like little more than 3 weeks, I'll be in America already.
Wow. Okay.
Um, it's wild. But one thing that's come up, when people say, tell me what the pulse is in Israel. And you and I have discussed a number of times about morale and reserve duty. And I happened to see a post on Facebook this morning from one of my Facebook pals, someone that I know in Modi'in, who was talking about how her husband, they have 2 children. Her husband has served 300 days in the reserve since the war started. He has lost his job, was able after a while to get another job. Their daughter has a serious anxiety disorder.
I
But
wonder
she
why.
referenced an article, an op-ed piece in the Times of Israel. So I said, okay, let me go look at it. And interestingly enough, it's written by a guy that I know. I've met this guy. I think he's about 40 years old. And I've known his mother since I was a teenager.
Hmm.
So this is like, okay. And it's pretty quick read. And I'm going to go through it because if I summarize it, you will lose some
Yeah.
of the momentum.
Sure.
So, okay, reservists aren't burning out because of the number of days we're serving. We're burning out because we're being asked to risk everything while being prevented from finishing the job. For the last 18 months, combat reservists have placed our duty to the state and people of Israel above all else. We've left jobs, put careers on hold, sacrificed time with our families, and given up our education plans. Financially, emotionally, and mentally, we've paid the price. And each time the phone rings, we drop everything again. We don't know when our next call up will be. We can't plan a vacation, commit to work projects, or tell our kids with confidence that we'll be at their birthday next month. Employers hesitate to hire us. Universities don't know what to do with us. Our spouses are holding the fort alone. Our children are adjusting to life without us around. Students among us have essentially lost an entire academic year with no end in sight.
Yeah.
And we do it all willingly, proudly. We believe in the fight. We believe in our country. We believe in our mission. What we don't believe in anymore is the way the war is being managed. We conquer one block in Gaza and retreat the next day. We risk our lives while fuel trucks cross into enemy territory. We train to defeat the enemy, but are ordered to avoid confrontation. The leadership calls for victory, but delivers hesitation. And in the background, the entire country is held hostage, emotionally and politically, by a narrative that centers on victimhood rather than strength. Let's say it clearly. The morale collapse we're seeing at home is not just because of the war. It's because Israeli society has started choosing weakness. We idolize victimhood. We elevate pain over purpose. Instead of rallying behind the fighters, we obsess over the hostages. Instead of demanding victory, we ask whether we've done enough for international approval. We've lost the hostage families forum, we've let the hostage families forum, not the IDF or the government, set the terms of public debate. The grief is real, but their influence has become disproportionate. Their message is clear. Everything must stop until the hostages are returned, and the war, and the mission, even our future. But victory doesn't work that way. Nations are not built on feelings. They're built on vision and strength. Our society has forgotten that. We've traded our founding ethos of proud Jewish strength for a culture of fear, doubt, and dependency.
Well,
the state of Israel was not reestablished so Jews could beg for international sympathy. We came here to stand tall, to defend ourselves, to create a society that reflects our values, resilience, courage, and leadership. We are soldiers. We're ready to fight, but we can't carry this mission alone. We need a society that remembers who we are and what we're fighting for, a society that chooses to be strong again. It's time to end this paralysis, time to demand victory, not just from our leaders, but from ourselves. The time has come to stop merely enduring. The time has come to win. And at times I can be semi-articulate. I don't think I could have said it that way.
No,
and it comes much better from someone who not only witnesses the call up and experiences it secondhand, but is living through it. That's our challenge. That's our challenge. And I want to clarify. I almost never go back to something I said, but evidently last week I said something that wasn't clear. When I stated that in the short term, Israel needs America, but in the long term, America desperately needs Israel. Let me be clear. I'm not talking about military assistance. The IDF doesn't have to go and help the Americans.
Yeah.
I'm talking about America's moral right to exist as a nation in this world.
I would
If
agree.
America does not bless Israel, then what reason on earth does Hashem have to bless the United States of America?
Well said. That could be, that would be your next assignment, is after we hit the stop button, to post that statement on Facebook, because that's a thud moment. That statement right there is, anybody that goes back to the book God's Final Warning to America by John McTiernan, Eye of the Storm by Bill Koenig, the book that documented both of those books. The first one that was written by John McTiernan, I'll say the title again if you can find one on eBay or somewhere, is God's Final Warning to America. Bill Koenig, with permission, spun off of that. So these books are records of what happened in America when America stood against Israel. It is phenomenal. And I see today the storms, the tornadoes, the 20-something people that are dead in America right now. And I continue to correlate these things that are happening. So, I mean, that was one of the best articles regarding this that I've heard, that I've ever I've heard.
This is now, having said that, I want to go back to something you said last week.
Uh-oh.
And I know whenever we've had these conversations over the last 11 years, it's like I see that look on your face saying, what on earth is he referring to?
Well, I do 3 to 4 programs a week. Plus,
I know.
I most of the time I have no idea what I said at the end of the week. So that's it.
But understand that both Barry Phillips and I are sitting there with a little memo book and we're taking notes. You mentioned about the difference between thinking biblically and thinking from a business model.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, people have asked me, they knew I did not believe, that Trump would be Koresh, Cyrus. They knew that I cringed when people said to me in America, so I hear Trump is building the third temple for y'all.
Yeah.
Okay. I do not believe that Trump likes Israel any less. By the way, notice I use the term like versus love. Any teenager that's ever dated or tried to knows that there's a huge, little teenagers, adults, huge difference between like and love.
Yeah.
Trump likes Israel. But now I come back to my teenage expression, not original. Don't confuse the issue with facts.
Mm-hmm.
He likes Israel. He wants Israel to be done with the whole Gaza war. And he's dealing with a prime minister who's indecisive. But for Trump, the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
So there are deals to be made. There's arrangements to be made. Trump is changing. I mean, it's not just that America is now re-engaged in the Middle East. America is reshaping the Middle East. And the one that's left out of that equation is Israel. Now, this is Trump in his first term, moving in the embassy to Jerusalem, the recognition of the Golan Heights, and the Abraham Accords.
Yeah.
Everything that's going on now, I mean, before you turn around, his first year of presidency is going to be over. Before you turn around. And it's like, where's Israel in all of this? What is Israel doing? Now, America's no longer mentioning building the Riviera in Gaza.
Yeah.
America, Trump said the other day, again, foot and mouth, people are starving in Gaza. Now, America's not nearly as bad, obviously, as Britain, France, and Canada, who essentially just threw Israel under the bus.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
I mean, and this just goes on routinely. I redo the title of my upcoming presentation at least twice a day now for the last week.
Wow.
Because I'm going to focus more on this, I'm going to focus on less on that. And the momentum of everything is just beyond belief. But I come down to something, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Give you a chance to talk.
Okay. So, yeah, I cannot imagine. I mean, I have a hard time trying to figure out day by day of how a message is going to work out, knowing that, 2 days from now, when I release something, is probably going to be out of date. This idea of Trump, not, Trump likes Israel, yes, but Trump loves himself. And
absolutely.
Trump loves his legacy. And so, but what's going on here? You talk about the news. I saw on ABC last night, nightly news with whatever idiot they have. I can't even remember his name, David something. These people are totally irrelevant. They're reporting last night that unless aid gets into Gaza within 48 hours, there will be X number of thousands of babies that die. I mean, to think that somebody can say that with a straight face is beyond my comprehension.
And it's
To
accepted.
to the things that are being said about Israel, the things that are being said about the IDF, and as of yesterday, my prayer list of soldiers that I know in Israel went up exponentially because friends of mine, their family members have been called back up into reserves. I take this personally. Um, and then I read the article from the friend of the fallen soldier that was killed in the building that they were told to go in. And this is an article that's up at the level of the one that you read. Basically, he said, why is it that we are told to go into a building in Gaza and the building is booby trapped? Nobody knows who set off the booby trap. So somebody had to be there with surveillance on this, knowing these soldiers are there. And he said, we are being led by 120 clowns
Without a
in
doubt.
the Knesset. And I
Listen,
have to agree with him totally. Who you have as a government, and I think that I have enough connection in Israel that I can speak pretty bluntly regarding Israel.
absolutely.
What you have there is 120 bad clowns, and this idiot that is in the Knesset, every one of them across the board, the one that's in charge, I'm tired of hearing about we're going to do something. It's going to be Iron Swords, Iron Dome, Gideon's Chariots. This is
You have
like
great
changing.
names. You have great names.
Oh yeah, this
Great
is like
names.
changing the name on the store from Kmart to Big K, but the blue light special inside is still the same cheap junk.
Without a doubt. Now,
Did I
yesterday,
make myself clear?
Yair Golan, okay?
Yeah.
He's running under a party called the Democrats. What that is a combination of Mapam, which is the Israeli communists, ultra socialists, and Mapai, the labor, what used to be the old Labor Party.
Yeah.
Now he's an ex-general. He's the one that said that we kill babies as a hobby. Okay.
Yeah.
His support came from Ehud Olmert, who used to be a prime minister. I mean, we've got a collection of idiots here.
Yeah.
But I now want to focus on what our listeners can do.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, in the not-for-profit world, in fundraising, there's a term called funders fatigue. It's, like when you keep going back to the same people, tapping them on the shoulder, saying,
Mhm.
Mike, can you give us for this? You're holding out
Yeah.
your hat, you give
Yeah.
for that. Okay.
Yeah.
When the war broke out and we recorded right away, I spoke about the enormous percentage that I was going to be giving to Israeli charities. The donations in October and November 2023 were off the charts. By December already,
Mhm.
it had slowed to, the usual like 10, 12, 14 people who donate to me. And I still gave that enormous percentage, but all of a sudden the funds had dried up. People had events at their congregations, people raised money, people put up hostage posters, people did a lot of things. And over time, it's less and less. So this is what we need to take a look at and stop, take a deep breath and say, what else could we be doing for Israel? Now, the best thing we could do for Israel is to become educated. And the best way to become educated is to participate in the Connect to Israel experience, which again, now I've only guided for 13 years. I've only been a professional Israeli licensed tour guide for 13 years. So what the heck do I know? But I can tell you, our tour experience is unique. And literally, it should be like, remember those, when they had the telethons, Jerry Lewis raising money, and the phones behind were ringing. Your phone should be ringing right now, Mike. People should be saying, hello, hello, buy, sell. This is, I'm excited because the generation that fought in the Second World War was known as the Excellent Generation. They fought in a cause to change the course of human history at the time. Astoundingly, so are we now. And it's a chance to make a difference. But the first step starts with yourself. You can't project something on someone else. You need to experience Israel. You need to see it. You need to feel it. You need to drink the Kool-Aid.
Or the Israel water. Okay, you set me up there. And I'm preparing right now to speak to a group of youth up in Whittier in just a couple of weeks. That there's a verse that I use many times. It is out of Proverbs 18:16. A man's gift will make room for him. He will stand before great ones. And that's a guiding verse that has been a guiding verse in my life. And many people have asked when I talk about this, well, okay, how do I find my gift? How do I find my purpose? How do I find who
Great
I
question.
am?
Great question.
How is it? What is it here? And it's interesting enough, Hanok, that and I don't know that I realized this as much until this year. A verse that I've underlined in my scripture is the first verse of this week's Torah portion. It says, tell the people of Israel, when you enter the land I am giving you, and it says you are to observe the Shabbat, and it goes on from there. Now, please correct my bad Hebrew, as I have tried to correct your bad Southern at times. Okay.
More than a few times, Mike. More than a few.
So this is Eretz Ani Natan Lachem. I got it pretty good.
The land that I'm giving to you, or
Yeah.
I've given to you. Yeah.
So if somebody wants a little bit more on that phrase, my Living Torah message that will be out tomorrow, I talk about Israel on this week's Living Torah. Amazing is that, but it says Eretz, the land of Israel, Ani, I am Natan. And I talk more about what that word really actually means regarding the covenant of the earthly realm and the eternal realm is in that word. But then the last word is Lachem, which is going back to when Abram was told, get out of your country, away from your family to a land I'm going to show you. It is the word you need to come to yourself. And I don't know if I really realized that until actually just before we got on the program. I was reading something that I found who I was, who I am, who I was created to be when I stepped foot in the land of Israel, which is what this word says. When you enter the land, you're going to come to yourself. And that's why I tell people, if it's possible to send your children, if they're old enough to send your grandchildren, you may be sending them to the very root of their purpose. When we go up on the Har Bayit, Bezrat Hashem, we can do that again. If the traditions are right, I don't know if they are, I tend to believe them, that this is the place that Hashem took the dirt to form Adam and Hava, Adam and Eve, and then he breathed his spirit into them and they were animated, then as they walk that land, they are coming into the area that is their DNA, the creation, the purpose that they were created for. I don't know if I said that well, but this is of great importance.
What I hope is that people will pause it now, go back and listen to the segment again, because there's so much there. You can't be whom you are supposed to be. You cannot achieve, you cannot actualize your potential unless you are who you are supposed to be, and can only be when you follow those dictates that Hashem has laid out for you.
You know, Kathy brought up something. I've got to go back over this. I've got to get the video and have her get it to me. There was a study done in Israel. That's what piqued her interest in it, regarding blood. They took a person's sample of their blood, and they were looking at this blood in a different room. And the blood was just kind of existing. It was still alive, but it was kind of, like just not doing much. And when the person, and I'm hopefully I'm getting this right, when the person that the blood came from began to laugh in the other room, the blood came to life.
Wow.
That's a study in Israel. I'm going to get that from Kathy and have her and get the whole thing, because it's fascinating. So when I talk about you going up on the Temple Mount, you going to the Western Wall, you going to the Sea of Galilee, for Ephraim, excuse me, I believe that let me just say, spiritual DNA is all over that land. And so when you go, what are you doing? You are visiting an origin of yourself.
I really hope people will listen to this particular broadcast over and over again. There are so many nuggets, tidbits, delicious morsels, if you will. You could tell I'm trying to stay away from carbs, with the language that I'm using. Yeah, I was just, earlier today I was mentioning about Cocoa Krispies. As one of my, listen, I grew up putting sugar on Frosted Flakes, so I don't have a tooth that doesn't have a cavity. I'm not browbeating anybody,
No.
and neither are you, Mike. What we're saying is, like, we've got the greatest gift in our hands, and I got to tell you, Delta is already flying to Israel again. This is, the little inconvenient, and it's not dangerous. Now, I have to touch upon an area that is your personal area of expertise, not mine at all. Newark Airport. Anyone who has anything to do or knows anything about air traffic control, your area of expertise, is now warning anyone and everyone about flying in and out of Newark. I mean, with all the issues in America, I am scheduled to fly back home at the end of August from Newark. But one thing I noticed, nobody that I know is canceling their plans to go into the state of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
No one. And people are saying, well, Israel, and I got to tell you, if you don't read our news, you have no idea what's going on. And, if you want to be misinformed, please go right ahead. But Israel's safe. We're waiting for y'all.
Yeah. And, as far as Newark goes, I cannot imagine it's amazing that they didn't take the whole group of them out on stretchers. when you lose comms for 60 seconds, I mean, I've lost comms for just in a power surge that it had to reboot. That is crazy. And I was working choppers that could hover. When you're working, fixed wing, they can't hover too well. I cannot imagine what that would be. But I'll tell you what, Hanok, if I go to book my flight, which I'm planning to do next month, and the best flight is through Newark, I will not hesitate to hit the button because my life is not in the hands of a controller. My life is not in the hands of a pilot. If it was,
Yeah.
I would at least know the guy's name when I got on the plane. Uh, my life is in the hands of Hashem, and if he chooses that would be my last flight, then that's his choice. Okay. And I know this because I see him do so many things in my life. I got one that nobody knows about yet. Even Kathy doesn't know yet. I got to tell her this morning. So I'm in the negotiation process with this youth group up in this youth camp up in Whittier regarding what my duties would be, my speaking and all those things. And I got a call last night from one of the leaders that said, Mike, we need somebody else as a camp or as a tribe leader. I'm like, and they said, I know that you don't really want to be a tribe leader, but here's what you would have to do. And, would you consider this? Take a couple of days. And I said, listen, I told you when you asked me to come that I was going to be there no matter what and just do what you asked me to do. So my answer is yes.
You're in. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got the whole thing is broken up into these different tribes. And I said, so I just do have a question for you. Uh, which tribe am I going to be assigned to? She said, Mike, I'm traveling. I'm heading back from work. It's on my computer. I don't know yet. I'll be glad to email you when I get home. I said, fine. I told Kathy what had transpired. She said the first thing out of her mouth, because she knows I teach extensively on the tribes and the personalities and the prophetic instances of our lives that are in this tribes. She said, which tribe? I said, I don't know yet. Well, I got an email last night. Ephraim.
Oh, just a coincidence, huh?
Really? The sons of Joseph? Really? And
That's great.
I'm concerned about an airplane? Really? I don't care. I don't.
This is,
Listen, guys, get
I
involved. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I know Hanok says it all the time, but we get involved, and if you can go, go. If you can't, help somebody else go. But
And I
that's
just
it.
want to remind people there were people who deferred from our 2018 and 2019 tours.
Yeah,
I remember.
yeah, dude.
And then, of course, there was COVID, so we didn't have one in 2020, didn't have one in 2021. We had in 2022. And there were people who didn't go then. And I'll go next year. I'll go next year. Well, 2023, 2024. You may not, as difficult as it may be to go now, it may be impossible next year.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, got it.
see you all
Hey,
here.
don't come to the end of your life not connecting with who you are.
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Mike, you have a great one, man.
Hey, thanks for the update today of what's going on. Kind of helped me a little bit in putting some things in the right place. And that article was that was
Yeah,
amazing. That was
that was
great. Thank
powerful.
you. All
All
right.
righty.
Talk
See
soon
ya.
then.
Bye bye.